And welcome to the Candidate Forum for General Election November 3rd. The forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of McDonough County. I am Jane Ellickson Copeland, President of the League. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. It encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Tonight's forum will be a unique experience for us and for the candidates who are participating as we are gathering via Zoom instead of in the Macomb Public High School library as we normally do. We appreciate all the candidates who are participating tonight. We're especially pleased to have the candidates for two important regional races, judge for the 9th Circuit and the Illinois State Representative for the 93rd District. Here's our plan for tonight's program. We will start with some candidates who are running unopposed for the McDonough County offices. And after that, we will hear from the judicial candidates. Then we will hear from the state representative candidates. And in the final segment, we will hear some candidates for the McDonough County Board. So let's start with the county board offices. There are 3 races in which all are incumbents who are running unopposed. And was not able to be with us tonight. He is running to be reelected. Kim Wilson, candidate for circuit clerk, is also running for reelection. She did not respond to our invitation. But we are very happy to have Matthew Quakala, candidate for state's attorney, here to introduce himself for 1 minute. Matthew Quakala, welcome, and please speak for a minute.
Hey, well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be in front of the League of Women Voters again. I know I only have a minute, so I'll try to be quick. I just want to say I'm very proud of what my office has accomplished over the last almost 4 years now. We continue to focus on violent crimes and keeping the citizens of McDonough County safe. Further, we continue, and I continue to support diversion programs like drug courts to help nonviolent offenders with their issues instead of just locking everyone up in prison. And mental health would be something I would super stress. We need more funding for mental health because there's lots of people with mental health problems and they get dragged into the legal system, and there has to be a better way. So I would encourage everyone to do that. I want to keep stressing the communication I have between my office and law enforcement. Perfect example of this is during the the beginning of the COVID pandemic. I'd worked with the Sheriff's Department. We released several people from the jail and developed new procedures for arresting people to keep people safe from the disease, from the COVID, and we got successful. There's been no COVID in the jail, and it's been a great success story. Hopefully it'll stay that way. COVID has changed the way we do things in court, but we've been able to successfully navigate our way through how court operates, social distancing, all that. It's been quite a ride. It's been a good time, but I've been able to adjust, as have other members of the legal community. And finally, I know I'm running out of time here, but I want to guarantee and assure everyone in McDonough County that my office, we've never charged or prosecuted anyone other than based on the criminality of their conduct. Never on the color of their skin, their gender, their religion, anything like that. And because that's what we do. And that's how we've always operated, and we'll continue to operate that way for the next 4 years. Thank you so much for having me. Everyone, wear a mask, social distance, be safe. And again, I really thank you for having me, and look forward to being your state's attorney for the next 4 years.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we will move on to the judicial candidates. We will ask each candidate to take 2 minutes to introduce themselves, and then we will have some questions. We have a total of 6 questions, which each candidate will have 1 minute to answer. Then when we conclude, each candidate will have 1 minute to wrap up. The candidates are Andrew Doyle and Emily Sutton. I'm going to ask Andrew Doyle to go first to introduce himself.
Hi, thank you very much for having me tonight. Like you said, it's a little bit different than normal, but I'm looking forward to connecting with your audience. So I'm Andrew Doyle. I'm currently the state's attorney in Warren County. A little background, I was born and raised in Monmouth in Warren County. Basically lived there my entire life. I went to the public schools there, went to University of Illinois, and Northern Illinois University School of Law. Graduated from NIU, came back to Monmouth, and was hired as an assistant state's attorney. As an assistant state's attorney, I really learned a lot about law. I was in the courtroom every single day. I prosecuted all different kinds of cases, ranging from traffic tickets, through drug offenses and so on. So I really tell people I cut my teeth in the courtroom as an assistant state's attorney. We're really lucky to be in a small county. And one of the benefits of being an attorney in a small county is that you spend all of your time in the courtroom. So you get a great amount of experience in a short amount of time. As state's attorney, I focused on 4 things: juvenile abuse and neglect cases, violent crimes involving firearms, delivery of methamphetamine, and probably most prominent now that we're seeing is the cases involving assaults on our police officers and first responders. So I've really looked towards those 4 types of cases as a state's attorney, and I'll continue to look at those cases as a judge. I'm very proud to have represented my association, my peers in the Illinois State's Attorneys Association, and also the Board of Governors for the Appellate Prosecutor's Office. Those are 2 elected positions that other state's attorneys in our state elect a representative for. And I'm proud to represent the state's attorneys in our state on those 2 organizations. So, going forward, I'd say that I have a lot of experience in the courtroom, and that's what it takes to be a successful judge in our circuit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Sutton, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm Judge Emily Sutton. In July 2019, the Illinois Supreme Court appointed me as a circuit court judge after a competitive merit-based process. My qualifications to be elected as a judge are clear. Being a judge is not an entry-level position. I have 16 years of broad legal experience handling cases across the spectrum of Illinois law. Mr. Doyle has been an attorney for just 8 years, all of them as a prosecutor. Judges in our circuit hear many types of cases. In my first year on the bench, I've handled orders of protection, small claims cases, evictions, foreclosures, child custody, child support, probate, tax adoptions, ordinance violations, traffic tickets, misdemeanors, and felonies. I also preside in drug court in Knox County. I have the deep and broad experience that allowed me to hit the ground running. In a confidential poll of lawyers and judges who know the candidates, conducted by the Illinois State Bar Association, I'm recommended, well, Mr. Doyle is rated as not recommended. My score in the area, in that poll in the area of integrity was 93.5. Mr. Doyle's score was nearly 24 points lower. Similarly, my scores in the area of legal ability, temperament, and courtroom management are more than 15 points higher than Mr. Doyle's scores. The lawyers who responded to the poll know that their answers will not be revealed, and they have every reason to accurately give voters insights into the candidates' qualifications. Finally, 14 judges serve in our 9th Judicial Circuit. I am one of just 2 women on the bench. Diversity is an essential component of a fair and impartial judiciary. We must have broader perspectives that can be brought to the real-world issues that face judges daily. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will have some questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. The first question will go first to Mr. Doyle. The question is, why are you a better candidate for this position than your opponent?
This is Andy Doyle again. And yeah, I'm a better candidate because I have the experience that matters. In our circuit, almost 80% of the cases that a judge hears are criminal in nature. As state's attorney, that's my primary focus. No other candidate has spent the amount of time in a courtroom that I have. I've handled everything from traffic tickets to murder cases and everything in between. If you want a candidate that's determined to keep our community safe and to make sure that the criminal justice system runs appropriately, I am your candidate. I worked with multiple other attorneys in the courtroom, and I've done multiple jury trials, multiple bench trials, tons of hearings. I've handled over 1,000 felony cases. over 1,000 misdemeanors and hundreds of DUIs. When it comes down to it, when you're talking about criminal law and keeping our community safe, nobody has the experience that I have in that sector.
Thank you. Ms. Sutton?
Thank you. Well, Mr. Doyle's made his best argument as to why you should vote for him. He focuses on his criminal experience. I have experience in criminal law from my 4 years as an appellate clerk when I handled drug offenses, sexual assaults, and murders, to name just a few examples. I have experience in criminal law as a judge, sitting in a high-volume criminal courtroom in Galesburg. But I also have experience in many, many other types of cases that affect individuals in our communities. Who do you want to learn on the fly how to probate your mother's will, or handle your niece's divorce, or hear your friend's petition for an order of protection against an abusive partner? I have that experience. I've been doing those things for the past year and long before. The Bar Association's poll reflects that I have the ability, the good judgment, and good character to be able to provide over all the types of cases that come before me.
Thank you. Question number 2 goes first to Ms. Sutton. The question is, what factors or values are most important to you in evaluating the facts of a case?
Well, that's an interesting question. One of the common questions I get out on the campaign trail, at least when we were talking to people, was in the issue of being partisan, nonpartisan. The judicial code says that we have to act with impartiality and integrity, and we have to be faithful to the law and unswayed by partisan interest. I don't think there's one set of criteria to evaluate. Each case has to be evaluated on its own merits. The law has to be applied as it exists to the facts and circumstances of each individual case without regard to how I feel or what my party affiliation is. It's not my job to create law or advance an agenda. I want the voters to know that I take that oath that I took and the obligations imposed by the code very seriously.
Thank you. Mr. Doyle?
Yeah, Andrew Doyle here again. And I guess the biggest thing that I can say that I look at when evaluating a case is that, you know, I've been in the courtroom consistently, again, since I started working as an assistant state's attorney. And because of that experience in the courtroom, I've been able to communicate with all kinds of defendants that make one mistake in their life and they come to court, they're nervous, they're upset about it, and they realize they made a mistake. And I've been able to look at those people and realize by a number of factors, talk to them, look at their criminal histories and looking at what they've done and deciding that those people need a second chance. And so, you know, while they have to have some form of punishment, it's not the harshest punishment. On the alternative, I'm also able to identify the people who are in the courtroom time and time and time again and do not deserve that second chance. They deserve to go to prison and pay for the crimes that they committed. And as a judge, I'll make sure that I'm able to differentiate between those two groups and give the appropriate recommendation for sentences.
Thank you. Question number 3 goes first to Mr. Doyle. What kinds of cases have you tried or judged that you found most challenging and why?
You know, I've tried a wide variety of cases, as I stated. I think that they're all challenging in their own individual way. However, I'd have to say that the murder case that I handled most recently here within the last year or so was by far the most trying. And it was so on a number of levels. First of all, the victim's family was very involved in the case. We had multiple meetings. You know, we talked to the victim's family, you know, at least once a month, and then leading up into the sentencing, we were talking on a daily basis. And so, you know, when you're looking to get justice for the victim and their family in a case with such magnitude, you really become attached to the family. So it was hard for me to separate at sometimes the right sentence and the right recommendations for the case and what the feelings that the family had in regards to the defendant. But ultimately, you know, it was great working with them, and they were happy with the outcome of that case, which at the end of the day is what we all want. We want a fair and just outcome, and for the victims of violent crimes to be satisfied with the end result.
Thank you. Ms. Sutton?
Thanks. I would say one of the most memorable cases was one of the first I heard on the bench. It was a child custody related case. It involved a child who had experienced some trauma. The child was actually the same age as one of my youngest daughters. Not only that, but she wears glasses like mine. She had a haircut like my daughter's, and being able to listen to that child testify on the bench and making it a safe environment for her to do that, while making sure that all the parties' rights were protected and that everyone got the justice and the information out, would allow me to make the best decision for the family. Family cases are time intensive. We tend to spend a lot of time in the courtroom, and they're very emotional. I'd say as emotional as some of those criminal cases. So it's important to get it right. And I think about that case even today.
Thank you. Question number 4, first for Ms. Sutton. Are there aspects of the law that you would like to see changed? Please explain.
Well, as I alluded to previously, it's not my job to change the law. I'm not a legislator. I'm not the type of judge who has an agenda and wants to advance that agenda. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Illinois, and I take that oath seriously. I apply the law as it's written. So, you know, if you say, what would you change if you could? I think it'd be really kind of improper for me to answer that question, because judges are also prohibited from commenting on litigation that's pending or might be pending. So I really want to be nonpartisan. I want to be fair and open-minded. And my personal feelings about the state of the laws that exist really don't come into play in this position.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Doyle.
Thank you. And I just want to let you know, if I disappear, my phone's getting towards the end of its life. So I apologize if that happens. But in order to answer the question, I think that I got to look back to what Mr. Pakala was saying when he was speaking earlier. And that's the fact that, you know, we're missing a lot of services in Illinois. We're missing a good, solid mental health program. We're missing good, solid drug rehabilitation programs. And while we do have some of those things available in our courtroom, it's not widespread enough. So if I was speaking to our legislators, I would encourage them to start funding these programs, fund the mental health programs that our citizens so badly need, and fund the drug rehabilitation programs that we're missing. There's so many people that are falling in the gaps right now that they need those services, but the services aren't available or widespread enough for them to take advantage of, especially in our rural communities. So if they're taking heed here, I would say help fund the mental health programs and the drug rehabilitation programs to help keep our community safe.
Thank you. Question number 5 goes first to Mr. Doyle. It is, all judicial candidates are asked to be fair, but fair is a subjective term. What does being fair actually mean to you, and how would you translate your concept of fairness into actual cases?
Okay, thanks again. So I'm very lucky. I grew up in a small town. You know, I've worked in a ton of different environments. I've been a laborer in factories. Actually, I've worked in 3 different factories. I've worked at bars. I've worked at restaurants. I've had professional jobs. I've sold real estate. I've worked in offices. So I kind of have a wide spectrum of experiences, and I think that those translate directly to being fair. Because what's fair for one person might not be fair for the next. And because I've had all those different experiences in life, I'm able to relate and associate with the people that would come in front of me in the future as litigants, and realize that, okay, just because $1,000 fine or is appropriate for one person, that definitely wouldn't be fair or appropriate for the other. So I think that's the biggest thing, that advantage I would have in becoming a judge, is that I'm able to relate and understand each and every person that would come in front of me and make every decision I have fair to them.
Thank you. Ms. Sutton?
Yes. Well, I encounter people every day in my courtroom who are in crisis or distress, whether they're the defendants, victims, or family members. They all need a level of compassion, and they all deserve respect. and that's what I give to people in my courtroom. And being respectful and being fair, that means being prepared. It means listening very attentively. It's considering the information that's presented and reconsidering the information necessary. It's recognizing the very real consequences my decisions have on people in court, their families, and the public at large. And it's conveying all of that through my words and demeanor. I work hard to give participants in my courtroom and the public at large the confidence that, at least in my courtroom, the system is fair and it works. Through the past year, I've demonstrated that in the decisions that I make every day.
Thank you. And question number 6, which goes first to Ms. Sutton. We are experiencing a time of great civil unrest in our nation about racial justice. What, in your opinion, can be done at the circuit court level to advance racial justice in our region?
That's a big question and an important question. The most important thing, in my opinion, is to make sure that we have people on the bench who have that sense of justice and have diverse experiences and who do the work and the homework to make sure that they understand the issues of things like implicit bias. You know, there are plenty of good people out there who don't think that affects their judgment. And I definitely do understand that concept, and I do a lot to inform myself. I do a lot of reading on various topics that are with regard to social justice. And that's a topic near and dear to my heart. I'm actually a member of the NAACP and look forward to trying to be more involved in that as it expands in the Macomb area.
Thank you. Mr. Doyle?
Thank you. Yeah, so I think, you know, coming from a rural area, once again, I think that kind of throws up some barriers when you're speaking about racial justice, just naturally. But I think one of the good things is that, you know, a lot of these small towns are very, very inclusive. Luckily, in Monmouth and Warren County, we've seen a huge change in the socioeconomic groups that are in Warren County. You know, I got to say, when I grew up there, it was predominantly Caucasian based, you know, with a few minorities. But in the last 10 years, it's really changed a lot. With Farmland Foods, the pork producer out there, we've seen a ton of different groups come in. You know, I think right now in our courtroom, there's 27 different languages in any given week that are spoken. So, I mean, that's huge. I read an article in the ISBA magazine that talked about Cook County and being inclusive and all the things they've done to be inclusive. And I had to laugh to myself because we'd already been doing those things in Warren County for a number of years because of the wide variety of people that we see on a daily basis. So while there's always room for improvement, I think that luckily, even being from a small county and in our small communities, that we have done a lot to make a lot of headway in that regards.
Thank you. Now we'll ask the judicial candidates to get 1 minute each to summarize or conclude. We'll let Mr. Doyle go first, please.
Thank you. So again, you know, I think the biggest thing for us and our listeners to understand and hear is that almost 80% of the cases in our circuit that a judge hears are criminal cases. You have to have a strong criminal law background in order to be an effective judge in our circuit. I have that experience and I have that background. As state's attorney, I've handled a gambit of cases, and I've handled murder cases, I've handled high-profile drug cases, and everything in between. When it comes to being a judge, I have the experience that matters. I'm able to handle, you know, any jury trial that comes in front of me, any bench trial, any other type of hearing that may pop up. I have the experience and I've handled those type of cases before. So when it comes to thinking about voting for a judge and picking somebody that's going to keep our community safe, you want to vote Doyle for circuit judge.
Thank you. Ms. Sutton?
Thank you. Honestly, this isn't anywhere I expected to be before you as a candidate. I am most certainly not a politician. I was encouraged to apply by others for the appointment and to run for the position because I'm uniquely qualified. I took the opportunity not because of ego or aspirations, but because it's a way I can truly be a public servant. This circuit is home to the people I care most about. And being a good judge is a duty that I owe my friends, our families, neighbors, coworkers, and other community members. One of the challenges of this judicial race is conveying just how important it is. Why should you care? Well, because judges make important decisions every day that affect public safety, like setting bail. I do that every day. Decisions that impact family, like child custody determinations. These decisions impact you, your friends, your neighbors, and sometimes they impact you. Our communities need a judge who is experienced, who has good judgment and good character, and who brings diverse life experiences to the bench to make those important decisions.
Thank you very much. And thank you to both Mr. Doyle and Ms. Sutton. This concludes the judicial portion of our forum.
Yeah,
Now,
thanks again for having me. I appreciate it.
now we will move on to the candidate for the Illinois State Representative for the 93rd District. That format will follow the same as it did for the judicial candidates, a 2-minute introduction time, and then we will have 6 questions with 1-minute answers to each. So I'm going to, the candidates are Norine Hammond and Scott Stoll. I'm going to ask Representative Hammond to introduce herself first.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for the opportunity. I'm State Representative Norine Hammond. I represent the 93rd District in the Illinois House of Representatives. The district encompasses all or part of 8 counties, including Knox, Fulton, Warren, McDonough, Schuyler, Cass, Brown, and Mason. I serve as Assistant House Minority Leader, and my committee assignments include Chair of the Higher Education Committee. I am a member of the Legislative Ethics Commission, Republican spokesperson on consumer protection, a Republican spokesperson for human services, as well as serving on appropriations, higher education, also Medicaid working group, human services, insurance, cybersecurity, data analytics, and IT. My focus is on fiscal accountability and fair and equitable funding for education across all levels, K through 12, as well as our public 4-year universities and our local community colleges throughout the state. My legislative priorities are based on the concerns and the issues of the constituents and the residents of central and downstate Illinois, and include advocating for meaningful ethics reform. Our constituent services record is exemplary, and especially with helping people through this pandemic and helping them to negotiate situations within state agencies. I also serve as the chair of the Council of State Governments Ag and Natural Resources Committee, and serve on the board for the State Ag and Rural Leaders, which encompasses all 50 states and 8 Canadian provinces. Been married to my husband Leonard for over 40 years, and we have 1 daughter, Trish. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stoll?
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this in such a very unique situation that we are all in nowadays. I know this is challenging. Again, my name is Scott Stoll. I'm a candidate for state representative in the 93rd District. Currently, I am the Chief Operations Officer for a small set of family-owned pharmacies down here in Schuyler, Cass, and Brown counties. We also service some of Fulton. We've been in business for 60 years. I'm part of the 3rd generation, and I also have the privilege of having been elected 3 years ago as a city councilman here in Rushville, where my focus has really been in economic development and small business health and small business development. I've been able to restart our Chamber of Commerce down here, which has been able to help quite a few businesses as we've managed our way through COVID-19. I am also married to a wonderful woman for the last 15 years, and I have 3 beautiful daughters. And so my goals as a candidate for state representative are very direct and very focused. They're focused on easing the burden for our working families here in the 93rd District and in the state of Illinois, and quite honestly, moving our district forward and into the future. My pillars of my candidacy are healthcare, education, and small business and economic development. As a person in business for over 20 years, you develop an idea that you have to have a mission statement with most of the things that you do. And so 12 months ago, when I announced my candidacy, I developed a mission statement, which hasn't changed. And that's to represent the 93rd District in a respectful, action-oriented, and forward-thinking manner, and to be a representative that cares for every person and puts the needs and interests of the people above all else. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll have the questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. The first question will go to Representative Hammond, and the question is, what are your top 3 priorities for legislation in the state legislature?
Again, thank you. My priorities certainly have been and continue to be fair and equitable funding. A balanced budget is most important, including paying down our backlog of bills that, as of 8 o'clock this morning, was at $7.8 billion. In addition to that, I have always advocated for seniors and healthcare, and aside from that, agriculture and the needs of the farmers and the agribusiness throughout the 93rd District have always been a priority and a focus for me.
Okay, Mr. Stoll, what are your top 3 priorities for legislation?
Sure. Thank you again. As I mentioned before, my top 3 focuses are in healthcare, education, and our small business and economic development. We've been hit extremely hard here in the district with COVID-19. And so economic development and stimulating our economy and supporting our small businesses across the board is extremely important to me. We've seen a lot of folks, they've had to close their doors. We haven't seen quite the support here in the rural communities as I would have hoped, as we see in some of the larger towns. But healthcare, of course, is another one. We are putting people at risk by forcing them to pay higher costs, by allowing the insurance companies and the drug manufacturers to sit at the table and choose price over health. And that's an extremely important thing, especially since I work in healthcare, that we focus on the health and the well-being and, quite honestly, the pocketbook of the people that are in the 93rd District, because that is what is really hurting our economy here at this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 2, which goes to Mr. Stoll first, is, do you think that COVID testing in our region needs to be increased? And if so, what can the state government do to help with that?
Sure. Well, thank you. Yes, absolutely. I think we do need to increase testing across the board. What we're seeing right now is obviously we see an increase in cases, but we have seen an increase in testing as well. But I don't believe in what I have seen at a local level, which I see plenty of it, and working with our local health departments as well to make sure that our patients are safe, is that we're not seeing a quick enough turnaround in our testing. We're seeing testing that may be inaccurate. So we need to push out a better agenda of how we're going to test and how much we're going to test, and put that funding, that extended funding, back towards all of the people, and really support a lot of the rural access hospitals and the health departments that are across the board in the 93rd District to make sure that they have the resources available to them, including PPE, to make sure that they're safe, secure, and that they're helping all of our folks going forward.
Thank you. Representative Hammond?
Thank you. I believe that part of when we talk about increasing testing, or whether it be testing or contact tracing, I think part of it begins with educating the public as to how important it is. First and foremost, if you feel you may be at risk or have been in a situation where you may have contacted COVID, that you understand how important it is to be tested. And also, we see so many options in the testing now, certainly across a lot of our university campuses with saliva testing. And I think that we get more of that, and the more we can see of that spread across the state, I think is extremely important.
Thank you. The next question, which goes first to Ms. Hammond, is, given the recent Con Ed scandal in state government, what ethical standards should be legislated and how should they be enforced?
Yes, thank you. Great question. And this is a topic that myself and many of my colleagues, and I will say my colleagues on both sides of the aisle and in both chambers have been working on ethics reforms and legislative reforms for some time now. We have had a package ready to go, and unfortunately the Speaker has not chosen to have that bill called for a vote in the House. But I think it is extremely important that given the scandals that continue to arise in the state of Illinois, that we address those issues and we do it quickly.
Thank you. Mr. Stoll?
Yes, thank you. You know, I would concur. I think that, you know, we need a better ethics reform focus over in Springfield. We clearly are seeing across the board where there are plenty of scandals, as was said before, but also a lot of corruption that's going through Springfield, and we need to clean that up. There's no question about it. I mean, you know, we're sitting with a group of many judges here, and you know, you are in the court of law, innocent until proven guilty. But the reality is that we need to be better for the people that we serve, and that right now, and what we're seeing across the board is not happening, and we need new faces and better ethics and some of the small town values that you know, the 93rd district, and I believe I can give. We need to bring that back to Springfield and really clean up.
Thank you. Question number 4 goes first to Mr. Stoll, and the question is, the Fair Tax Amendment, which would allow Illinois legislature to change the current flat income tax rate to a graduated income tax rate, is on the ballot for November. What is your position on this proposed constitutional amendment?
Sure. Great question. Obviously, I know that this is a very polarizing topic as we get closer here to November 3rd. I support it because, quite honestly, we need to ease the burden, as I said before, to the working class people that are out there. What we're allowing to have happen, again, is the large corporations and the independently wealthy to move forward and get through loopholes and pay potentially, you know, half of the percentage that the middle and lower class are paying. If we look at the 93rd district right now, you know, that's 99% of the people in the 93rd district are going to either stay at the same tax rate or potentially take a marginal tax benefit from it. So if you're looking not at going to a progressive tax situation, you know, you're looking at the 1% again. We've got 32 states in the country that are running successful progressive tax orchestrations in their state. And, you know, we can do that here. We need to bring back some of that revenue because it has to come from somewhere, and we have to start somewhere. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hammond?
Thank you. I did not support the vote to put the tax amendment on the ballot. I do not support it. In the very beginning, we were given some possible tax brackets that may be included, but at the end of the day, there are no tax brackets that are included in the amendment. So that will go into the Constitution. Those brackets can be changed at any time. Taxes can be changed. The rates can be changed at any time. It opens the door for taxing retirees. Many of our retirees are senior citizens that are living on a very small fixed income. It also hits small business with about a 45% tax increase. At the end of the day, a $12,000 salary is going to get a $6 savings.
Thank you. Question number 5 goes first to Ms. Hammond. Given the state's financial problems, what are your top budget priorities?
Certainly my top budget priorities have been and continue to be fair and equitable funding for education. We put in a new funding formula for K through 12 education 4 years ago. We were on a roll and funding it as the formula dictated until this year's budget, when the funding went back to flat funding again. In addition, higher education certainly needs more funding. And in light of pandemic, we see more and more individuals going back to pursue a higher education. Makes it even more important. Also healthcare and protecting our seniors is extremely, extremely important.
Thank you. Mr. Stoll.
Yes, so as a small business owner myself, I don't know anything other than balancing a budget. I'm not sure how you do that and stay in business that way. So it's extremely important to me that we focus on some of the pitfalls that we're having in our budget and get it balanced as soon as possible. We need to focus on our debt structures, take a look at what our long-term and short-term debt pieces are, and see what we can do in that area. And we need to start looking at the needs versus the wants in our state. I believe we're putting things more towards wants. We're not putting it towards needs, as Representative Hammond stated. Education needs to be funded. We have a good funding formula. However, it hasn't seen any inflation increase in the 4 years that she spoke about. And quite honestly, we're not seeing some of the rural pieces, some of the rural funding come back to our K through 12 schools. We're not looking at our vocational and our trade schools enough and starting to fund those. So we need to look at balancing that budget and finding the avenues that are going to increase our jobs, increase our education for our children.
Thank you. The final question goes to Mr. Stoll first, and the question is this. We are experiencing a time of great civil unrest about racial justice in our nation. What would you recommend be done at the state level to advance racial justice in our state?
Well, as a person, who obviously, is going through this as well as everybody else, the first thing I had to do was I had to start listening. I had to open my ears, open my eyes to what's going on out there, and listen to everybody, listen to the people, listen to the stories. And that's one of the biggest things. And as a leader, you have to be able to listen. You have to be available. You have to be there and accountable for the actions that go on in your district. And I feel that having those conversations has helped me a considerable amount. That's given me a path in which maybe we can move forward. Maybe I can help as a state representative. So those are the biggest things that we have to do. We have to start listening. We have to open our ears. We have to be available for our folks. We can't do that from Springfield. We have to be here in our communities and go through what they're going through and hear the stories of what's going on and start making some decisions that help everybody.
Thank you. Ms. Hammond?
I am very pleased that those conversations are going on, and they are going on at the level in Springfield. While it started with conversations within the Black Caucus, which encompasses both the House and the Senate Black Caucus members, but even as late as yesterday, I was on a Zoom committee meeting with members of the Education Committee and Higher Education Committee in both the House and the Senate, and discussing how we begin to address and implement policies that are inclusive and that we are looking at individual neighborhoods throughout the state and the level of poverty in those areas. And one of the biggest issues that came up was the lack of childcare and the lack of affordable childcare for many, many communities, and the struggle that they have when it comes to pursuing education.
Thank you. Now we have come to the part where we will ask each of the candidates to wrap up. You will each have 1 minute. We will start with Representative Hammond, please.
Again, thank you to the League. I sincerely appreciate this opportunity, and I've been honored to receive the support of many organizations and individuals across the state of Illinois, and certainly within the 93rd district. And I appreciate the support of the thousands throughout the district that have volunteered. They've walked in parades with me, put out signs in their yard, and their teachers and their healthcare workers and their farmers. And I'm privileged to have their support and the support of many of the organizations that they are a part of. I'm honored to have been awarded the from the Illinois Healthcare Association, the Voice of Senior Care, from the Illinois Chamber of Commerce, the Champion of Free Enterprise, and the Illinois Farm Bureau, Friend of Agriculture. I sincerely appreciate everything tonight and appreciate your vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Stoll.
Yes, thank you again for hosting this tonight. I understand that Representative Hammond has decades of political experience, but that might be exactly why we need a new candidate and new views going forward. I want Representative Hammond to know I respect Representative Hammond and what she's given to the 93rd district, but we're not moving forward. We've stayed stagnant. There's a thirst out there in the conversations that I've had that they want to move forward. We need to look towards the future. We can't keep our head in the sand in certain areas that are needed. And, you know, I have experience as well. My municipal government experience, I think, will help out our communities. I've been able to see some of the trials and tribulations and the successes that a local government has to go through in order to help their citizens. And I know I can benefit by being a part of that. I'm not your typical stand-in representative candidate. I'm ready to challenge the status quo. I'm ready to work for the people, and I'm ready to make changes that are needed for a better tomorrow. I appreciate your vote. I appreciate all of your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Now we will move on to the county board races. District 1 has 4 open seats and 5 candidates running. Of the 5 candidates, 4 are with us tonight. Jerry Raby didn't respond to our invitation, but we have Deckle McLean, Dick Marcott, Michael Kirby, and Ken Durkin here to introduce themselves. Because we don't have the opposing candidates, the current rules of our organization prevent us from asking questions, but we do want to ask each candidate to take 2 minutes to introduce himself and present his ideas. We will ask Deckle McLean to go first, please.
Yes, Deckle McLean. I'm running in District 1. I was appointed to the board last year to serve out a 2-year term after a resignation. I'm retired from WIU. I was a journalism professor and director of the journalism program. We've been in Macomb 38 years, moved here in 82 when I took the job at WIU. I was raised in New Jersey, near New York City. Sometimes people can hear something, accent still in my voice. I went to undergraduate school and a law school in universities in Boston. I have some concerns regarding the county, and for me, these amount to a platform. And the 3 main ones bothering me right now, perhaps bothering quite a few people. One is to see the county get through the COVID recession without significant or heavy economic damage. A second is to see WIU solve its enrollment problem, and I'm hoping or trying to figure out how the county can find a way to help. The third is involves the hospital, MDH. And I'd just like to see it continue getting better because it's a very important asset to the community, and not only for the people here, but to attract people here. Now, right now, we know Congress is deadlocked on COVID assistance, and that the state's looking for budget cuts and furloughs and layoffs because of tightened finances. So the county may soon find a more serious pinch than it's in right now. My idea with respect to WIU, perhaps some kind of boosting of the county would be possible. That would involve expensive PR, which we don't want to talk about until the coronavirus is taken care of. I see a stop sign over here.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. McLean. We will ask Dick Marcott to speak next.
Yes, as everyone else has before me, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for giving me a platform. I really appreciate what you do. My name is Dick Marcott. I've been in Macomb for the last 40 years. I was married here, raised a couple of my kids, raised both of my children here. My wife and I have been married for 37 years. I was raised in Chicago, and I came to school here in Macomb, graduated with a history degree, and I just fell in love with Macomb and fell in love with the people of Macomb. I've been in District 1 for a long time. I've been a member of the county board for the last 8 years, and I feel that my duty really as a county board member is to safeguard the interests of the residents of my district and McDonough County. By that I mean really to ensure that each taxpayer really gets the best bang for their buck. I feel it's board members' responsibility to provide serious oversight to the activities of the county, the courthouse, the highway department, the Elms Nursing Home, the animal shelter. We want to make sure that all of the employers are doing their jobs professionally and are keeping the interests of the taxpayers at heart. And we also want to make sure that all the employees are happy and feel appreciated and do their jobs professionally as well. Basically, I feel that my 8 years of experience has made me particularly valuable to the district, and I basically serve at the voters' pleasure. It's been very been a learning experience for me, and I feel my experience is my best qualification for another 4 years.
Thank you very much. Next, we will ask Michael Kirby to speak, please.
Hello, I'm Michael Kirby, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for allowing me to speak this evening. I'm representing District 1 in McDonough County on the county board, and I've served one term. I still think of myself as new to the board. My academic background is in anthropology. I was an undergraduate at Penn State and went to graduate school at Florida State, and worked in my field for many years. Lived in Texas for 13 years before moving here to Illinois 11 years ago. And so I've lived here in Macomb, and my wife here. I've lived in Macomb for 10 years and been married for 7. And I've come to really appreciate the good things that the county and the city of Macomb can offer people. and I've really enjoyed representing the people of my district the best that I can. I think the concerns that some of the other county board candidates have mentioned are very good ones. We have to be responsible in providing oversight to the county, and we have to be prepared for the financial difficulties that may lay in the future for the county if the federal government doesn't itself and provide some relief money to state and local governments due to the undermining of our tax base that results from the pandemic's economic effects. Going forward, going forward, I think what I'm proudest about, what I've been able to do in the county, is to vote for a road agreement with the construction of the wind turbines. And there's another project that may come into being. I see that I'm out of time, but the fact that McDonough County is doing something in the way of renewable energy to help slow down global warming, we're doing our part to try to save this planet from self-immolation. So thank you for hearing me out this evening.
Thank you very much. And finally, we'll hear from Ken Durkin, please.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Ken Durkin. I'm a candidate for the McDonough County Board, District 1. I'm currently a board member and have been appointed to the board on February 19th of this year. I'm currently serving on 2 committees, the Road and Bridge Committee and also the Emergency Services and Disaster Assistance Committee. I've been a full-time resident of McDonough County along with my wife, Charlotte, since 1982. We have 2 daughters, both Macomb High graduates. I graduated from WIU with a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in law enforcement administration, and I also completed additional graduate work in higher education through Southern Illinois University. On August 31st, 2016, after 34 years of service, I retired from Western Illinois University's School of Law Enforcement and Justice Administration, where my primary duty was serving as internship coordinator. My wife also retired in 2016 after 30 years of service as a special education teacher with Macomb School District. I look forward to continuing to represent all McDonough County residents in a positive and productive manner, especially those within District 1. I will continue utilizing a common sense approach in dealing with matters presented to the board. I'm willing to work with all individuals in order to achieve the most viable outcomes possible for the residents of McDonough County. I appreciate your support and thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you to all the gentlemen who have spoken so far. There is a separate race in County Board number 1 for an unexpired seat, which is being sought by Clay Hinderliter and Cyndi Helling. Clay Hinderliter did not join us tonight, but Cyndi Heller is here, so we will ask her to take 2 minutes to introduce herself and present her ideas.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters. I'm running for county board for McDonough County as a way of getting involved in politics on a grassroots level. I spent the bulk of my career in broadcasting. Locally owned and operated radio stations are connected with their community. Central Illinois Broadcasting had a relationship with the area's entrepreneurs and business owners. We knew the movers and shakers in town, the mayor, the president of the university, the hospital CEO, the chief of police, the Chamber of Commerce president, the sheriff, our circuit clerk, and so many other decision makers. While in broadcasting, I attended the Chamber's Leadership Academy and also served on the board of directors for the Chamber and was an ambassador for the Chamber for 10 years. So I have a good idea of how the business community works. I was branch manager for employment agencies and have a good feel for the manufacturing sector in our area. As a Deckle employment agency, supplied temporary workers to Pella, NTN Bauer, Fusion Tech, Wayland Manufacturing, Method Electronics, and other smaller industries. While I was involved in the employment industry, I served as president for the Des Moines Valley Human Resource Association and as secretary for the Society for Human Resource Management in Southeast Iowa, so I can bring a knowledge of human resources to the county board. I also worked for dentists in the area. I collected payment following dental treatment and would estimate what the insurance companies would pay. Working in this industry educated me in the way that claims are paid and what insurance companies are looking for to give me a much better idea of how insurance works. And I think that could be a benefit to the county when deciding on benefits for the employees. Your vote counts. I respectfully ask for your vote on November 3rd and promise to do my best to make wise decisions for the county board.
Thank you very much, Ms. Helling. That concludes County Board District 1. In County Board District 2, there will be a field of 4 people, 3 of whom will be elected. None of those candidates are with us tonight. Scott Schwerer, Eric Chapman, and Rodney McGrew did not respond to our invitation. Shirley Camp did respond, but was unable to attend. In County Board, there is also a separate election for an unexpired seat, and Travis Hiel and Selina Mannion seek that seat. Mr. Hiel was unable to attend, but we are glad to say that Selina Mannion is here, so she will have 2 minutes to introduce herself and present her ideas.
Thank you, Jane. I'm Selina Mannion, seeking District 2. I'm from Bushnell, and I'm a substitute teacher throughout our McDonough County schools. As an educator, I care deeply about the people of this county, especially the most vulnerable, like my students. Nearly a quarter of our population is below the poverty line, and over half the students in our county schools qualify for free or reduced lunch. That's why I've made a 7-point platform to address the serious issues affecting the people of this county. First, we must keep our elders safe by protecting our county nursing home from privatization and ensure we keep a competitive workforce by paying all our nursing home workers at least $15 an hour. Second, we must expand the existing fare-free McDonough County public transportation routes to include the whole county so that accessible transportation is available for everyone to get to work, medical care, and shopping. Third, we must defend our local hospital by opposing all attempts to privatize or outsource MDH jobs and appoint a diverse board that fully represents our community, including LGBT people and people of color. Fourth, as an animal lover and someone concerned with the health and environment of our county, I vow to oppose new hog confinements. Fifth, I pledge to work with the county clerk to increase voting accessibility by expanding early voting sites for all elections. Six, I want to end the punitive cash bail system as much as possible in the county jail and court system, as it creates a split justice system that disadvantages poor people. Seventh and finally, I propose to fund these services by moving funding from the sheriff's $1.4 million budget that is currently embroiled in scandals that have cost the county millions. I believe in solving social issues by treating their causes, not wasting public dollars policing desperate people. Especially now with COVID, our families need their county government to fight them. On the county board, I'll be the fighter we need.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mannion. Third district, that 4 candidates are running for County Board District Cox, 2, David Nissen, Julie Melvin, and Letha Clark. None of those candidates are opposed, so they were not invited to participate in this evening's forum. So this brings us to the end of our actual candidate forum. There is another segment to this program, so please don't change the channel yet. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan national organization which neither supports nor opposes candidates for elected office, but does work to influence public policy on specific issues after member study and consensus. An issue on the ballot this fall concerns the change in taxation in the state of Illinois. And after study, the State League of Illinois recommends passage of what is called the Fair Tax Amendment. This evening, Martha Clems, who is a retired computer science professor and a member of the League of Women Voters, will provide us with information about that referendum. Martha?
The top item on this fall's ballot is a vote on the graduated income tax amendment to the Illinois State Constitution. This amendment would eliminate the requirement that Illinois tax incomes at a single flat rate, and instead that the state legislature set rates for a graduated income tax, allowing higher rates for higher incomes and lower rates for people with low and moderate incomes. A yes on the amendment supports the change to a graduated income tax. A no opposes such a change. To pass, the amendment needs 60% of those voting on the question or a majority of those voting in the election. The federal government and 32 other states already have graduated income tax, including our neighbor states of Missouri, Iowa, and Wisconsin. The current Illinois flat tax rate is 4.95% for all. Both the working poor and billionaires pay the same rate. But if you combine all state and local taxes, including income tax, sales tax, property tax, and other fees and taxes, the lower income people pay almost 14.7% of their total income in state and local taxes, while upper income people pay more like 7.3% of their total income. That's because lower income people and middle income people spend almost all of the money they make, and so almost all of it is taxed one way or another. If the amendment passes, the General Assembly has approved 6 new tax rates to go into effect on January 1st, 2021. Both single filers and joint filers will pay 4.75% on income up to $10,000, 4.90% on income from $10,000 to $100,000, and 4.95% on income from $100,000 to $250,000. These first 3 tax levels are set so that taxpayers with incomes less than $250,000 will have a very slight marginal tax decrease. Since 97% of Illinois taxpayers have income under $250,000, 97% of us will have no increase in taxes. Only the top 3% will pay more. But single filers will pay 7.75% on incomes over $250,000 but less than $350,000. 7.85% on income over $350,000 but less than $750,000. And the top people will pay 7.99% on all income if their income is over $750,000. For joint filers, the 7.85% is on income between $500,000 and $1 million, and the 7.99% kicks in only at income over $1 million. How much will the new rates bring in? New revenue is estimated to be $3.57 billion per year, all of it coming from the top 3%. Does it affect retirement income? No. Illinois is one of 3 states that doesn't tax retirement income. The amendment doesn't change that. How does it affect small businesses and farmers? Will they pay more? Well, since 99% of all Illinois businesses, including farms, are organized legally so that net profits are reported on the owner's personal income tax returns, the same rates apply. And it turns out that 97% of businesses, including farmers, will also have no tax increase. Only the 3% with incomes over $250,000 will pay more. People for the amendment say our current flat tax is both unfair and inadequate. It falls too heavily on the middle class and brings in too little money, causing deficits and drastic cuts in education and other needed public services. After years of cuts, Illinois now pays only 25% of the cost of K-12 education. That pushes property taxes up to fund local public schools and ties school funding to the wealth of the school district's residents, leading to great inequality in Illinois public school funding. Over the past 40 years, income growth in Illinois for the top 3% has outstripped that of the bottom 97%. In fact, the top 1% income has increased 254%, while the bottom 90% income has either stayed flat or decreased in real dollars. That's why the graduated tax has been designed to raise taxes only on those who've actually benefited from decades of income growth, the top 3%. Yet it'll bring in over $3.5 billion more a year to help pay for education, healthcare, human services, and job growth. The nonpartisan Illinois League of Women Voters recommends that you vote yes on the amendment. With a fairer tax, we can rebuild Illinois without asking for more from 97% of Illinois taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martha. And thank you to all who participated in our program tonight. We want to thank all the candidates. We thank Brenda Allison and Jill Myers for their help in creating this Zoom meeting, and Sally Egler, Jana Hayworth, and Barb Knox, who organized it. This program will be available for viewing on Channel 15 starting on September 22nd and running daily until the election. We hope that it will also play on the League's website and Facebook page. Early voting begins on September 24th in the McDonough County Courthouse basement. If you are voting by absentee ballot, the ballots will be mailed out beginning September 24th. You may either mail the ballot back via the U.S. mail, or you may take the ballot to the drop box that will be located outside the courthouse on the east side. Whether you vote in person or by mail, the recommendation is to do it early to be certain that your vote is counted in the election on November 3rd. Thank you very much and good night.